Justice will only be done when we have thrown this repulsive political class the hell out of office. We have to get them out. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. And now I say to you again tonight, I am your warrior. I am your justice. For those who have been wronged and betrayed, of which there are many people out there that have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution.
At his first major campaign rally of the election cycle in Waco, Texas, Donald Trump escalated his violent rhetoric. The former president took the stage Saturday to a song he recorded with jailed January 6th defendants, and he showed footage of the Capitol attack. All of those things are true. Back with us tonight, Jason Johnson, a politics and journalism professor at Morgan State University, and Brendan Buck, former chief communications advisor for both Speaker Paul Ryan and John Boehner, and an MSNBC analyst. For our younger viewers, right, you're a college professor, explain to our viewers the significance of all the places in the country he could have gone. Donald Trump went to Waco, Texas.
Well, you do have the David Koresh. You had the Waco invasion 20 years ago. It was seen as sort of a rallying cry for the right wing. Oh, my gosh, government invasion. They're taking over this guy, even though it was a sort of strange cult. So Trump is continuing with his messaging to sort of domestic terrorism. But I think that's been a problem in the Republican Party pretty much since 2015, 2016 anyway. But the other thing is this. His violent rhetoric gets people's attention. That's what he's going to do. This is no different than Ronald Reagan starting his campaign where civil rights leaders have been killed. These right-wing leaders know how to find sort of geographic symbolism and where they give their speeches as well.
Brenda, David French argues in the New York Times that it's not Trump who controls the MAGA movement. It's the MAGA faithful. But aren't they one and the same? I mean, the MAGA faithful are Donald Trump's ride-or-die voters. I have not seen one national political figure that base has said, yeah, that's my guy, besides Trump.
Yeah, and I guess it's because he's actually saw that this was the party for long ahead of anybody else. I mean, he swept in and saw that we are much more populist than people appreciated. We're much more nationalist than people appreciated, much more anti-immigrant than people appreciated. He saw that there was a desire for that, and he came in, swept it up. He's taken it. I don't know how much he believes any of it anymore. It's become part of his persona, but it's always been the case. And he's giving them what they want. Like, the most important things in the Republican Party right now are you a fighter? Donald Trump is coming out and showing, I'm a fighter. Who are your enemies? He has all the right enemies, all the people who, you know, the elites, they don't like him. That's all you want. And can you give them what they want? Can you entertain them?
But when are we going to wake up to the fact, right? For years and years we're going, but he's the elite, right? It's not just this, we say, well, like a certain portion of his base. There's a lot of educated voters who vote with him who know full well Donald Trump living at his golf club in Palm Beach. His son-in-law and daughter Ivanka, what'd they make? $600 million while they were like who's still believing this?
It doesn't matter what you believe. You just have to believe in the guy. That's the thing. That's why I've been saying, like, this is just a terrorist movement at this point. It's not about policy. Remember,
I know, but let's not be comical about that.
I'm not being comical. They're terrorists. Look, remember, the Republican Party didn't offer a platform in 2020. They just said that we are reaffirming our loyalty to Donald Trump. They didn't say tax policy. They didn't say security policy. They didn't say a new environmental policy. They didn't have an education policy. They said loyalty to this man. Then you have hundreds of members of Congress who voted to not confirm the last election. And then you have people who have stood against an investigation into a violent coup on this country. There's no other explanation for that other than terrorism at this point. And he is the leader of that movement. And I know there's nice, educated people who say, well, you know, it's just rhetoric. No, it's not just rhetoric anymore. And everybody in Congress saw that during January 6th. So whenever I see him speak, I don't believe anymore that there's anybody who's sort of just following him for policy purposes because they haven't offered policy in years. Maybe McCarthy offers policy. Maybe sometimes McConnell offers policy. But this man who is the leader of this movement hasn't offered policy in 4 years.
He's not trying to offer policy. We are very much post-policy, and I will agree with that. He is fighting a culture war, and that's what these people want. He is creating this idea that this is an existential fight for your way of life. And they're only coming after me because I'm standing up for you. And when that's the stakes, if people, and there are a lot of people who are convinced those are the stakes, that's why they're showing up in Waco, Texas in droves. That's why he is still leading in the polls, because they think it is much bigger than about him, about policy. It is about what kind of culture we have, and we can have an argument about what kind of culture that they want to have, but that's what this is about. Those are the stakes for these people.
Well, Ron DeSantis wants to be the commander-in-chief of the culture war, and I want to share a bit of what Donald Trump said about him this weekend. Watch this.
When a man comes to me, tears in his eyes, he's at almost nothing in the polls, and he's fighting somebody that's at 42, and he's got almost $30 million in the bank. He's at almost nothing. He's got no cash. And I said, I can't give you an endorsement. I said, you can't win, can you? How do you can win? Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. Please. Please, sir, endorse me.
Maybe DeSantis had no cash back then. He just was in Trump's backyard in Palm Beach raising suitcases full of it. Does DeSantis have a real chance here against Trump?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, first off, he's...
No, not at all.
No, he's in a rhetorical trap, right? Because here's the thing. In order to run against Donald Trump, you have to make a decision. You either say, well, the 2020 election was a fraud, right? And if you say 2020 was a fraud, how can you justify running against him? And if you say 2020 was legitimate, then you lose all the Trump supporters that you're going to need to win. So, no, he's got no chance. Even ideologically, he can't fit himself into that space.
He's in a political Bermuda Triangle. I don't know. Then who are these people writing him big checks?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of people who are banking a lot on the idea that Ron DeSantis is the savior. There's a lot of people in the Republican Party who don't want Donald Trump to be, and it is the elites in the party who don't want him to be the nominee. I think they're realizing, though, that Ron DeSantis is a pretty flawed candidate. Now, I don't know him well, but I was around him a little bit in the House. He's not Mr. Charisma. And Donald Trump, say whatever you want about him, he knows how to entertain people.
Listen, you could say he's the most awful human ever, but he's an entertainer, right? Like,
so he can't. Keeping people's attention is the biggest thing in politics right now. Now, I'm very skeptical that Ron DeSantis has enough pizzazz that he's going to be able to take the stage away from Donald Trump. And whoever we're talking about over and over again for the next 6 months to a year is probably going to be the nominee. And I would bank that's Donald Trump and not Ron DeSantis.
DeSantis has no chance. I never thought he did. And here's the thing, and I've said this before.
You could give Trump the nickname for DeSantis. No chance DeSantis.
No chance DeSantis,
right?
Meatball Ron, thigh boots, Dallas Cowboy thigh boots, whatever name you want to give him. But I've said this before. California, New York, Florida, these are places that you can't run from nationally. I had a conversation with some of my former students in Ohio. They hang out. They spend a lot of time with Republicans. We're talking Mahoning Valley. We're talking Cuyahoga Valley. They call him DeSatan. They think anyone running against Donald Trump is evil incarnate and is standing against all the culture wars they fought for. This guy can't win over anybody but the elites. And that's going to be his problem when he's attempting to actually run for president against Donald Trump.
Wow. You two just gave me a lot to think about. Jason Johnson, Brendan Buck, thank you both very much.